The way I think about fire, it's more like a destination, but water is more like a journey.
The 1.5 CR feels a bit unrealistic,
That's the goal, right? That is what you need to achieve.
at least in 2025 with all the inflation and lifestyle that we all have.
How do we decode the secrets of living life?
You need to have your investment amount in a way that it is 25x of your yearly amount.
But the goal is not simply to eliminate the bad, but to pursue and expand the good.
The freedom equation.
Break it down slightly.
Hello everyone, welcome back to our episode. ये एपिसोड को हम लोग बोल रहे हैं द फ्रीडम इक्वेशन, जहाँ पे हम लोग बात करने वाले हैं कि हाउ डू वी लिव लाइफ ऑन आवर ओन टर्म्स. हाउ what exactly financial freedom truly means. Is it retiring early or something which is more fluid? I have Ansh, Ajay and Amit to talk about this. So let's get to the topic directly. I want to start with Amit. Amit, ये fire term बहुत आता है आजकल. If you talk to anybody who has just started working, they are like, यार मेरे को fire होना है. I'm like, what are you talking about? Can you shed some light on this कि क्या है ये?
No, absolutely, Viraj. First of all, thank you for having us. Would love to talk about this term. Fire, आग बोलो हिंदी में या English में fire बोलो. But it's a very powerful term, right? In financial terms, and if I have to go by the acronym FIRE, it means financial independent, retirement early. So let's break it down slightly. We're talking about two specific things here, two phrases, very powerful phrases in current scenario. One is financial independence, second is retirement early. So what we want to do here is that we want to retire. When I say retire early, it doesn't mean that you're going to stop working in 25 years. It's going to be retiring early from your conventional age, what we say 60 or 65, right? You don't want to work for money. That is what it means. Comes with a very simple goal that yes, I want to be financially independent so that I don't have to work for my bread and butter, right? So your goal is very simple. Financially independent, right? There is a very simple formula to achieve it. What they say is you need to know what are your current expenses. So, let's say if your monthly expenses, for a simplicity, if you say your monthly expense is 50,000, what you need to do is make sure that you have, that turns out to be your 6 lakh yearly expense. And a simple formula is that you need to have your investment amount in a way that it is 25x of your yearly amount. So that turns out to be roughly 1.5 CR. So the day you have 1.5 CR in your savings account, not savings, but let's call it investment, which is going to continuously grow. That is the day when you can think about, taking an early retirement. That's what it simply means. So very simple things you need to remember. One is what is your goal, which is financially free. Second is a simple calculation, which is 25x of your current expenditure. And then you can think about this term. It's a very simple term, but very powerful, Viraj.
Thanks. And just to be clear, when you said 50,000, 6 lakhs, 1.5 CR, we are talking about Indian rupees, right?
Yes, that's right.
And does it translate in every currency? Does the formula apply no matter where you live?
So currency could be anything, right? And obviously, but the concept remains same. It is 25x of your current expenditure, right? That's the goal, right? That is what you need to achieve to make sure that you are, all right, now this is the time I can think about retiring from my regular day-to-day job.
Yeah, that's crazy. If I think about like 6,000 pounds as my monthly expense, including my mortgage and all.
Yeah.
That's quite a big number. Are there different flavors in fire?
There are different flavors, right? And it all completely depends on what kind of person you are, what are your lifestyle, how you would like to live your life, right? So if I have to talk about quickly, there are few concepts in fire. One is fat fire. The name itself says that, somebody who likes to spend, somebody who does not want to compromise with their luxurious living, right? So in that case, you need to start investing early, make sure that you have enough money in your pot so that you don't have to compromise with your standard of living. That's one concept which is called fat fire. Then there are people who like to, they're very content people. They would like to live with a very minimalistic sort of, requirement. For them, they call it lean fire. So all they need to say is, all right, my minimum expenses are met. I don't have to work longer enough to, cover for my other expenses, and that's it, right? Let's retire. So we call it lean fire. But then there's a nice balance, which we call it as a barista fire, right? It's like, all right, I don't want to work for money, but if I enjoy my working, I could do sort of part-time jobs. I can try and look for, a limited number of hours wherein, I like going out, working for something which I like, but I can also start living my life by achieving my other sort of hobbies or activities, right? So that's Barista Fire. There's a very new concept, Viraj, I'm sure a lot of you must have heard, which is called DINK Fire, right? DINK. Now this one is very interesting. They say dual income, no kids. It's a new concept. I don't know I fully understand it, but it's very much developing that a couple who have started their career, they earn nicely, and they don't want to have kids. They just want to enjoy their life, right? They don't want to, and that's what gives them a liberty to take risks in their life and do something different, something what they enjoy. So there's a new concept also called DINK Fire. So let's put it this way. You've got fat fire, you've got lean fire, a nice balance of barista fire, and then there's a DINK fire.
So many questions come to my mind when we talk about DINK. Maybe that's a conversation for some other day.
Absolutely.
Barista Fire is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And Amit, while we are brewing that, Ajay, I want to come to you and ask you, there is another concept which is orthogonal to fire, which is called water. Could you tell us what that is?
Yeah, Viraj. Thank you so much for having me. Fire is a very common term to hear in today's world. But comparing it to water, if you say fire is a sprint, water is a scenic river journey. And if I talk about the acronym, it stands for work and travel, enjoy retirement. I would say, it's a parallel school of thought, which is about, not rushing to retire and stop working. It's about, integrating the freedoms of retirement into your life right now. And, if I take the example, you could have any hobby, which you want to pursue, and you're not waiting for your early retirement, like, I'll get fired at 33 or 35 and then I'm going to do that thing. No, you don't need to do that, with water framework. Water means, designing a life with long sabbaticals, remote work from other countries, or the mini retirements. And these are just to make sure, you follow your hobbies, your calling, so that you don't delay that after your retirement. I think the good thing about Western world is people do understand you. They understand the sabbatical word, and they kind of support you. And I really like that thing, because that person wanted to do something from, I don't know what was his calling, and he did that. And I was very much amazed by that. And there's a very famous author, Tim Ferriss, who's known for the 4-hour books, like 4-hour chef, 4-hour work week. The author says that the goal is not simply to eliminate the bad, but to pursue and expand the good. And this is the good part, which I see, having pursuing your own calling, and don't worry about grinding every day to retire at an early stage.
That's interesting. The way I think about fire, it's more like a destination, but water is more like a journey.
Yeah.
The biggest question that come to my mind is, how do we decide? Like, what do I go with? Do I go with water? Do I go with fire? Ansh, can you help us in deciding what are the factors we should look into while deciding whether I want a fire life or water life?
Sure, Raj. Happy to talk about it. In fact, I do have a framework, which, we can, get to that in a bit. But before that, I just want to maybe double click on what Amit said and the calculation, right? I think the 50,000 into 12, the 6 lakh Indian rupees into the 25x feels like at least in 2025, with all the inflation and lifestyle that we all have, the 1.5 CR feels a bit unrealistic. So it probably is more like a lean fire. But if I go with the other term, which Amit mentioned, the fat fire, which probably a lot of people might relate to, having a very decent to luxurious life. So if I do the math for that, let's say my annual expenditure, let's start with monthly to kind of do the calculation. Let's say it's 2.5 lakh Indian rupees. Into 12 is 30 lakhs Indian rupees. Now, if I do the calculation of 30 lakhs, the 25x formula, the 25x does work, but just to be on the safe side, a lot of people in the financial industry have revised it to 33x, considering the amount of inflation and other kind of changes that happen in the next few years, especially around health and education, and everything is becoming super expensive. So just to be absolutely safe, the 33x is a nice number. So if you do 33x into the 30 lakhs, which becomes a 10 CR value, which feels high, but I feel that should be the right number for somebody who is aiming to have a luxurious life. And the way it works is, if you have 10 CR, let's say, parked in investments, whether it's 80% in equity and 20% in, let's say, in gold and bonds, it'll grow at a certain percentage. So, like 10, 12%, broadly. And if you take out 4% every year, which is close to 40 lakhs a year. So the way this thing works is the money can never dry up because it's growing at the same time. And that's the reason why even if you don't infuse any capital, when you reach that number, you're absolutely independent of your active income. And that number itself can help you, survive for the next few decades. Most of the calculation runs until the age of 90, that the money is going to be there until the age of 90 because you are extracting 4% and it's growing at 11%. So the calculations are quite nice. So the 10 CR seems like an ideal number, because what's going to happen is some people definitely want to retire early, and some people have that kind of mindset of having a relaxed, calm lifestyle. At the same time, even when you achieve the number, you really want to have some sort of active income because you want to be busy, you want to do something. So the framework is basically answering 3 honest questions about yourself. And the first question is about work, right? Like, what is your relationship with work? Now, if you genuinely enjoy working, or is it like purely a means to an end, right? So if you hate your job, the sprint of fire would be very appealing, because you want to like get that number and get done with it, and then you can chill the entire life. But if you want more flexibility, water is a natural fit, because you don't want to front load so much in your early career, right? So that's one of the factors, the relationship with work. The second is the timeline for joy, right? A lot of people like defer gratification, like they want to have a very miser, conservative life in the beginning, and then they want to happily grind for 15 years for like a massive payoff. That's fire. Or do you feel a sense of urgency to kind of experience the world now? Because when you're young, you're energetic, you want to make sure that you have a decent place, you want to do international travel, so on and so forth. So your timeline of joy also makes a decision, and that's water if you want to experience life while you kind of live it, instead of having a massive payoff at the end. And the third variable I would say is, what does freedom mean to you? So is it the complete absence of obligation, like never having to work again? Is that what you want to look for when you achieve that number? And if that is it, then that's fire. Or is the freedom of choice, like where you want to work, wherever you want, when you want, and what you want on. And that's water. So I feel like with water, you can reinvent and do something else. And it gives you more choice. Whereas fire is like, just get that number and then just chill. So those are the 3 variables: relationship with work, timeline for joy, and then what does freedom mean to you?
That's a great framework. Thanks for your answer.